how do you fight my insecurities, all these things. Every day. I'm in search for a feeling. I'm not in search for a trophy. I'm not in search for love. I'm not in search for more followers on Instagram or social media. When I started this journey years ago, I realized that I'm going to be somebody, and I'm searching for a feeling of true victory for myself and only myself. The second I shut out the whole world and realized that one thing, that I am in this world alone. I'm fighting in this race by myself. Yeah, I'm all about people. I'm all about team. I'm all about that. But I'm really all about right now and in my life, no one knows the real truth about me, how hard I really go. I don't care if anybody knows. I don't want anybody to know. I'm an introvert. I live an introverted life. And I love that about me. That right there is my fuel. Is I know that there's really no one out there grinding like me. And if they are, so be it. If I know about you, I'll make sure that I up my game. That's what the mentality is all about. My whole thing is a mentality thing. I view myself as the weakest person on the planet Earth. My goal in life was to, in my mind, believe I'm the hardest man alive. And that's why the whole thing is can't hurt me. That's what it's about. It's about whatever you think you are, you have to make that dream a reality. But that's where the hard part is making that dream reality. That's where the hard work comes. That's where people know, how do you keep grinding every day? I was able to find strength in every molecule of this earth. I'm able to be in a room with nothing, with no motivation, no inspiration, nothing, and find it. So what I did in those situations was I invented this thing called taking souls. When everybody's all f***ed up and you're exhausted and you're weak and you're tired and you're looking around and everybody looks as bad as you or even worse, I'm like, you know what? I want to now to make a statement to let you know where your life ends and mine begins. And so the statement there is I muster up every bit of strength from their looks on their faces and how they feel, and how I'm going to now, from my childhood, where I came from, how I was the bottom of the barrel, I'm now amongst all these uncommon people. I'm now going to now make you feel like you're common. So I used their sadness, their weakness, their parts of their life where, God, this sucks. I'm like all poopy pants and messed up. I used that for my strength. And I have this moment of like, let's say we're in the sand, we're running or whatever. I will do a surge. I will do something when everybody's like, how the f is he doing this? And from that look on their face, that feeling of, God, man, this guy must be something special. It then surges me further and faster and harder for a long time. So it's energy's everywhere. But the thing is, it's so loud that voice in your head of pain and suffering and discomfort and I don't want to do this is so loud that you're unable to really calm it down and say, okay, there's something here. It's a patient calm that you have to bring to yourself to say, I know I have something here, but that voice is so powerful that it just wants you just to, let's leave. We're done. We're done. It spazzes you out and you want to go versus saying, let's take a second. Hang on. Before we spaz the f out, hang on. And in that moment, you can think clearly and find that strength out there for you. You have to make those insecurities, those fears. Like when I was 300 pounds, I didn't have any drive. I'm going to go be a Navy SEAL. What kind of stupid is that, 300 pounds? There wasn't like a drive to go be a Navy SEAL. I was an insecure, lying kid, afraid. I had to look at my insecurities and in my fear and find drive in that. We're all looking for passion. Passion's all around you. You have a whole fucking stack of it all around you. It's your insecurities. You got to dive deep in that shit. It's all in there. All the energy and fuel you need is right in yourself. It's all there. You got a lot of stuff to do to overcome. And, that's where I found it. I found it right there in my own insecurities. I found drive in my own insecurities. And that's the most powerful thing in the world. When you can find drive in your own doubt, fear, insecurities, you become very unstoppable. I'm living on that couch right now with that milkshake in my hand, thinking about how the am I gonna pull this off? That's what I realized for myself was I wanted that comfort zone that everybody looks for, that pat on the back. They don't want to hear all the bad shit. They want to hear everything that they're doing right. And I realized that's what kept me in this world. That's what kept me in this world of not accomplishing anything. So what I did was I became that big, bad, nasty mother that you don't want to walk into at nighttime. I became the roughest critic in the world on myself. And that's what changed me. I literally saw myself in the mirror. I saw the truth versus saying, my dad did this to me from beating me, kids in school from calling me nigger did this to me, my life did this to me, my up broken foundation did this to me. I took that and said, you know what? Well, some people may help this happen, but now I have to own this. No one's gonna come back to save me. No one's gonna come back on this couch and say, hey, it's okay. You're gonna be okay. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna be okay. I had to realize I had to take a stand. I had to make a real stand. And it was painful to look at who I was, what the world and myself created. It created a very lonely, depressed, insecure man that would do anything just to have a friend. And I saw that as very pathetic. When you look at the truth, it becomes very ugly and pathetic. I would call this guy up at almost every night about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night and give him an update. I said, hey man, I've lost 25 pounds. No one knew what I was doing. I'm really good at creating an enemy. I'm really good at creating something that I'm against. And I'm also good at, if you ever tell me something that I cannot do, I'm gonna let you know that I'm doing it. Right. Somehow you're gonna know one way or another that I'm doing it. It may not be like in your face. I may make sure that I run across the daggone world. So then it's on the news and you turn the news on and say, how the hell? I want to do something that I'm here. I'm here. So every time I lose like a big significant amount of weight, I call that recruiter up and say, hey man, I'm here. I'm here. And before I knew it, man, this guy became almost like my best friend at that time. Because I started actually changing his life. He started seeing, wow, man, like, I'm glad I took a shot on this guy. And not only did I lose weight, I had to go back and take the ASVAB test again. It was like a watered down SAT a couple more times just to get in the Navy SEAL. So it was a big process. So that 3 months was packed full of like failures, depression, even more. But what I found out in that whole 3 months, I lived a lifetime. In that 3 months, I started realizing if I can flip these insecurities upside down, if I can flip this fear, if I can flip all this that made me this depressed, insecure guy, if I can flip it and make it work for me versus against me, I started seeing the power in failure, the power in insecurity, the power in self-doubt. Because I looked at everybody, it may not be true, but that's how I looked at everybody as being way above me. I thought to myself, if I can be at the lowest part in the world, in the sewer, and be able to overcome all this, I started using that as power. And I slowly started passing the guys from Harvard, the guys from MIT, the guys who were from great families. And oh my God, I'm catching up. I had nothing. So I started flipping it and using it as power. People, when you're afraid of something, you have to master it. That's how you start to overcome it. I was so afraid of myself that I had to figure out, I became a master of my mind. So what I realized, when I get to that point where I want to quit, everybody, they get to the point where they want to quit. This is what happens. The mind tells you, let's go home. Let's take a warm shower. Let's get some food. This is not right. This is that. If you cannot answer the questions at that moment, because your mind's gonna start giving you all these questions. And if you can't answer them, you're going to quit. What I realized when I was going through BUD/S, Ranger School, all this 100-mile race, 200-mile races, pull-up records, my mind would come creeping in. Like when I was doing 4,030 pull-ups at 2,000 pull-ups and my hands were ripped open, my mind said, look, brother, we've done all these other things. You've proven yourself. You're good. If I didn't have the answer to respond to my mind and say why I'm here, why I'm doing this, you will always lose that fight. You have to have the response to what your mind is going to tell you. And another thing about that is self-talk. A lot of people have like these big four on mental toughness. All that is crap about self-talk, visualization. It's true, but the thing about self-talk and all these things, they ask me, what do you think about when you're on mile 100 of a 205-mile run? What are you thinking about when you realize you've run for 24 hours and you have 24 more hours to run and you have another 105 miles? What goes through your mind? What do you say to yourself? I want to know. A lot of people think self-talk works. It does, but it doesn't work without the suffering before your mind starts saying we need self-talk. So what I tell myself is I go back to the months and years of preparation to get to that day. And I'm telling myself, the 3:30 in the morning, and I'm looking at my shoes and I want to go out there and run 30 miles. I have to, in that second, in that moment of this self-talk, my mind saying, you got to find more, you got to find more. I once again calm down, go back into my mind, in my cookie jar, I call it, and I have to reflect back on the shit I did to get here. And that becomes my self-talk. Self-talk does not work unless it is real. Most of us lie to ourselves in this self-talk. It doesn't work. It has to be real. It has to be something that you've done to make it really work. So every day I have my shoes laid out because I hate running. People don't believe it. I hate it. Because every day I wake up and there's my shoes, my shirt, my shorts, depending on the weather. There's some days I can wake up and I just look at the motherfuckers for hours. And then I start walking around the fucking house. And I say, I don't even fucking run today. I'm not doing shit today. Nothing. I don't have to. I can did all that shit. I don't need all this shit. I went through all these hell weeks and got my ass kicked all the time and fucking made it. What am I doing this shit for? And that's when I think. I got 2.3 million followers on Instagram. This ain't about you. This ain't about your for ranger schools and getting beat as a kid. You have an obligation, not to yourself, but to everybody out there that is touched by what you do as a human being. While nobody knows what I'm doing, no one is videoing me and I am a virtual trainer mentally, because there's a lot of people out there saying, man, David Goggins is an actor today. And if I wake up one morning and don't do that, I go back to that David Goggins who lied about being who he wanted to be. So my thing that keeps me going every day is my mission in life. Wow, I did not choose it. I'm an introvert and I hate what we're doing even right now, is to always stay the course. You man the fuck up every fucking day of your life because you know exactly what it is to not man up. I've done that too many times in my life. So that's what keeps me going. There may be some days I get up with poopy pants and I'm like, you know what, man? This, man, like, what am I training for? I have no race on the docket. Why am I having this such a structured life? Why? And I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Done. I retire every day. I'm done with it. And I sit around and I say, okay. And then this is my thought process. So you want to be normal. So you just want to be like everybody else that roams the world, not knowing the power that's in them. Being fine with being mediocre. You want to go back to who you were, huh, David? Yeah. It's those bad days. I see a whole bunch of people walking around out here who have no idea how talented they truly are. Now I'm talking about talent, like some God-given ability. Talent that sometimes you have to hone, you have to work on, and you have to harness yourself. And they just walk around just on their phones, just clueless to how powerful they are. You have to be able to break this very big thing into very small pieces. What makes people quit, stuff like you talked about, the whole SEAL Fit thing and different challenges like Hell Week and Ranger School and 100-mile races and stuff like that is, like for instance, I ran 205 miles in 39 hours. Can you imagine what your mind is thinking at mile 100 of a 205-mile race? It's not thinking you're halfway done. It's thinking you have another 100 miles to go. You know, it's not thinking, oh man, we're halfway down. It's thinking, oh man, I got a long way to go. And so you have to be able to really chunk these things down and not allow your mind to get away from you at the worst times. So I became an expert at doing just that. I have a story to tell, as we all have a story to tell. And what I realized on my journey was a lot of us don't believe that we can achieve the impossible. And along my journey, I started realizing, man, I gotta fucking tell some people about this shit, man. Like, I discovered something that some people have, but they don't even fucking know. All of us have it. Along this way, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't a theorist. I became a practitioner. And I was like, my God, I'm busting down so many barriers of, like, I have a learning disability. Okay, but I'm catching up with everybody. I figured that out. I figured out all these negative things in my life that were keeping me in this hole. I'm like, I gotta tell people, man, that, hang on a second, man. You can fucking achieve the absolute impossible. You don't need great parents. You don't need like a private school. You don't need to have this humongous GPA and all this other shit. What you need is the one thing I talked about in my book, which is straight up brutal work ethic. You have to be willing to outwork everybody in the world. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part. This isn't like some 5-step process where if you do these 5 fucking steps, you're gonna end up with this magical world. Nah, I'm basically teaching you how to callous over your victim's mentality. I'm teaching you how to, like I did 67,000 pull-ups in training for the pull-up record. I was seriously callousing my hands to protect them. What I'm trying to do with people is teach them how to find more themselves to where they empower themselves. I'm all about the underdog. So that's what the book's all about, man. It's all about having that step process, and I had to share this with people. Growing up, I was the weakest person in the world, I thought, in my mind. And the most important conversation is the one you have with yourself. So when you think that, it becomes truth. I do believe now there's not many people on the planet who can do what I do. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for fame. I don't do it for a professional sport. I don't do it for a trophy. I don't know many people who get up and get after it like I do on a daily basis for absolutely nothing. No one sees me. No one knows me. No one knows half the shit I do on a daily basis. And I don't know of anybody who would do it for nothing, just for nothing, just for pure fact of I'm trying to get harder and tougher mentally and physically every day of my life. If I don't give you all of me, why the hell am I here? How will you learn from me? People take so much offense to me. You will never learn from people if we always tap dance around the truth. We tap dance around the truth by finding the right words so I don't hurt you because you have thin skin. No, tighten up, people. It's okay. Trust me, it's okay. It's okay. You might be called some Jewish word or some gay word. It's okay. Let them call you that. What are you going to do now? They don't own your life. How are you going to control that now? How are you going to flip it upside down and say, Roger that, now I'm going to harness, and you'll read about me years from now. Very fortunate that I grew up in a time when there was no phones and there was no social media. And I suggest, yes, I'm on social media on a very limited basis because I have a story to tell, and it's a great platform. Use it as a platform, don't use it as your life. My biggest advice to give everybody in the world is, like I say, we live in an external world. Everything is you gotta see it, touch it, it's external. If you can, for the rest of your life, live inside of yourself. Stop listening to people who are calling you fat, gay, transsexual, everything that is makes no sense. All these insecure people putting their insecurities on you, you gotta flush it out. You gotta just be whoever the hell God or whatever the hell you believe in. If you believe in nothing but yourself, I don't care what it is. You gotta take everything and throw it away. You have to believe in one thing, and that is yourself. And I'm not saying don't believe in God or what you believe in, but right now, for you to find greatness in yourself, you're not gonna find it by looking in a book or by even hearing me. I may give you the spark, but you've got to go inside yourself to find it. And that means you gotta be quiet. Shut up, go in a room, stop talking, search your soul, search your mind, search your abilities, and you'll find it. But if you're not looking for it, you won't find it. So you gotta go start your journey. And the journey starts with you finding, why the hell am I here on this planet Earth? Why am I here? And if you don't know that, you will live the rest of your life searching, always asking the question, why? When I was growing up, I was being bullied and all kind of shit. My grandfather looked at me and he said, you know what, man, you're not gonna amount to shit because of how you hang your head. And as true and as real as it was, it hurt. And a lot of us, what we do is we hide from the truth. We don't want to tell people the truth. We see people every day, loved ones, friends, family members. We see them walking around. Everybody sees them gaining weight. They're not going to school, but we live in a kinder, gentler world. So we don't say shit to them. We just watch them fail because why? We don't know what to say or how to say it. Or we may lose them as friends, or they may not love us anymore. You're watching someone fail. The best thing you may ever do for someone is say, hey, guess what, brother? You're a piece of shit right now. You may not say it just that way, but that's what you may want to say to somebody. Look, man, I love you to death, brother, but your life sucks. You are so much better than this, man. You are so much better. I'm watching you fail and I can't do it. So the best advice I ever got was a negative comment from my grandfather. You ain't gonna amount to shit. And he didn't mean it in like a mean way. He meant it as honestly. You're allowing this world to kick your ass, and it's going to if you keep on letting it do it. And it stuck with me. It stuck with me for a long time. It sticks with me today. A lot of us, mediocrity is everywhere right now. And we're all trying to find an easy way out. And we're judging ourselves. Let's say there's 10 people in this room, and we're all mediocre. But I'm the best of the mediocre people. I now think I'm great. I'm great. We surround ourselves around people that make us feel great. They tell us what we want to hear. The second we put ourselves amongst the uncommon people, we don't like that feeling, that challenging feeling of that person who's waking up at 3:30 in the morning and say, hey, put your shit on, we're going for a run. We don't like that challenge. We like that person who says, hey, you know what, man, I don't feel good today, man. And they say, oh, it's okay, brother. We'll take a day off, man. We'll get a pizza and watch the game. We like that. We love that feeling. Why? Because you understand, man, we're good, bro. We don't want that in our lives. We don't want that person who's constantly challenging our weaknesses. Stop being a punk. We want that person who's constantly, making us feel nice and good and secure in ours. That's the mediocrity of life. We want to be the best amongst the average people. People wonder, how do you stay hungry all the time? Because after I accomplish something, I don't sit back like a lot of guys who graduate buds, graduate this, graduate that. They get comfortable. They wonder why I'm getting weak, man. I don't know, I lost my edge. What's going on? Because once you hit the top of the fucking mountain, guess what happened? I'm good. I'm good. So you wonder why you're falling down now. Because once you reach the top of the mountain, you got to build up another one. That's mediocrity. There's a lot of people in mediocrity who have a nice resume, but they're one-timers, man. They hit a one-time deal, they busted it open, got a lot of money, but they're good. You're mediocre now, man. What are you doing today, tomorrow, the next day? That's why I don't listen to theorists. I don't listen to all that bullshit. That's the person who's gained knowledge. You gain knowledge through suffering. Whatever the shit is that made me nauseous and sick to my stomach, it made me hurt. There's no ending. And that's the person I listen to. And on the other end of suffering is a world that very few have ever seen. It's a beautiful world because that's where you find yourself. You don't find yourself in over here. You find yourself on the other end. Like the 100-mile race I was on, I ran it for 24 hours. I found myself on the other end of that race. That 19 hours, I found, wow, there's a whole nother world out here that I've never even saw. But the world is in your mind. And that's what all that mediocrity is about. Mediocrity is contagious. I'm as human can be. That's why what you see is what you get. At that moment when I was giving my speech, and I thanked my uncle for being there, and I got to my mom, it wasn't just about her. It was, I know what she went through. I know what I went through. And we got knocked down so much. I had a moment in front of all these great American heroes where I had a chance. It was like so fast. It went through me like lightning of, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm getting an award like this. That that kid who was in the fetal position the majority of his life. And so much the fact that my body and my hip flexors are tight to this day, that even though I was standing erect, my mind was in the fetal position. And when I looked out amongst all those people, it was a sense of pride. I can't even explain. It's the moments of 3 hell weeks. It's the moments of in that room by myself studying for hours and hours and hours, trying to catch up with all the kids who are above me. It's just those moments, like the real raw moments of life that was like, boom, hit me and we're gone. But I was like, I did that, I overcame it. You know, it's like, it's this power behind all that shit. And that's the feeling I was looking for in my life. I found it. It wasn't money, it wasn't fame, it wasn't awards. It was that feeling I have right now. The feeling of I'm about to break down, but it's not of like, oh my God, I'm upset. It's like I worked myself so hard that I turned a person this up into this right here. Not off of reading a book off a theorist, off of going to work on myself and saying, I don't know how to do this, but I know that to get over there to that side, I gotta grind myself into a fucking fine powder. And I did it. I did it off of sure will. And very few people will know how that feels. Very few. Some are actually born with some genetic freakishness. I was not. Don't forget the first 3-4 chapters when I couldn't read as a junior in high school, when I hid out, where I got beat so badly that I became afraid of every motherfucker that ever lived on the planet Earth. Everybody. People forget I had to reinvent a human being. I sat at home for so many nights by myself, broken not just physically, mentally, spiritually, mental toughness, strength, power. I'm like, I didn't have any of that. But then I sat back and said to myself, I actually sat back when I was fat, nasty, out of shape, miserable, and created a human being in my mind that didn't even exist. And said, that's what I want to be. I want to be that guy. I want to be a guy that's capable of doing exactly what I'm doing today. And you have to, if you weren't born that guy, that mentally strong guy, he can be made. Woman, man, whatever the hell you are. It can be made. But in making that person, you have to be able to turn down book deals. You have to be who you are every day of your life and never care about anybody who gets in your way that said you're not doing something the proper way. So a lot of people can live with themselves. That's the first thing. A lot of people can live with themselves, look in the mirror and say, I'm okay with being afraid. I'm okay with going on this easy highway over here. The easy highway has all these signs and directions how to get somewhere. You have to first be uncomfortable with how you feel about yourself. With that voice that a lot of us like to run away from, we all have it. We all have that voice that's saying, hey man, you know, you're kind of wimping out right now. You're kind of being a little punk right now. But a lot of us say, okay, that's okay. It's okay to tell these little white lies to ourselves. So we first have to face the real you. The real me is David Goggins. The real me is a guy looking at you right now saying, I don't want to fucking be on this show right now because I used to stutter as a kid. And I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid that here in a second, I'm going to start fucking stammering and stuttering and the whole world is going to know that I have all these issues. But that's when I see right now, okay, Goggins, you got to go on the show. That's Goggins. Goggins is saying, okay, David Goggins, you're a punk. Life made you this way. We can't live like this. We can't live in fear. We can't live in judgment. We can't be afraid of what the people right now are looking at me saying about me. We cannot be afraid of that. That's Goggins. Goggins saying, all of you who don't like me. And that person then comes in. But you have to be David Goggins and say, man, I'm afraid of this. I'm up here. Life made me this way here. I stutter. I have these issues with reading and writing, and I'm fat and I'm insecure. You have to face that in that dark room. In that dark room is who you are. But in that dark room is where you have to create another human being that walks out of that dark room to face who you are. That's the only way you're gonna get over all those things. You have to create someone else. Not like you have two different personalities, it is you. But you have to find strength. And that visualization of almost me cracking out Goggins, like almost like that Superman cape, like I'm coming out a different person, a person that doesn't give a fuck about anything, who doesn't care about being judged, who knows I'm weak, who knows I'm afraid, who says, whatever you think about me, take it, whatever, I'm here. That's Goggins. In the dark room, you face yourself, you realize you want to be better, you realize you don't want to be this weak, insecure person in the world who has all these problems that we all have. We all have. Social media is a great platform to tell you who we want to be, not who we are. So that's where that dark room is.
It's an endless process. Endless process. All that shit that I went through in my life to get here today, it is tattooed. It is tattooed in my brain. Every day I wake up, I am constantly battling that person that is like, man, you know, back in the day, this happened to you, man. You know, like, you got called nigger so many times, and your dad beat the shit out of you, man, and you know, you couldn't read, and the dad going junior year. All these things start to creep up, even now where you're at today. Every day, you're having to constantly battle. It's not as bad as it used to be by any means, but that person's still there. That person always lives. And that's the point about you have to continue to always challenge yourself every day.
Growing up, I was the weakest person in the world, I thought, in my mind. And the most important conversation is the one you have with yourself. So when you think that, it becomes truth. I do believe now there's not many people on the planet who can do what I do. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for fame. I don't do it for a professional sport. I don't do it for a trophy. I don't know many people who get up and get after it like I do on a daily basis for absolutely nothing. No one sees me. No one knows me. No one knows half the shit I do on a daily basis. And I don't know of anybody who would do it for nothing, just for nothing, just for pure fact of I'm trying to get harder and tougher mentally and physically every day of my life. Even though my life gave me a lot of challenges, that didn't, so people say, oh, well, how can I become hard if my dad didn't beat me, if I didn't stutter, if I wasn't called names, if I wasn't bullied, if I didn't endure all the things you endured? Yeah, all those things can make you a hard motherfucker, or they can make you very soft. You know, I made a choice, and those things didn't make me hard. I had to find strength within them. Where I became hard was the discipline the self-discipline. Key word is self. Discipline is great. Self-discipline makes you a master of yourself because no one is helping you. That's where you really start to callous your mind. You callous your mind not through enduring a hard childhood or a hard life. It's enduring the things that make you uncomfortable, which is we all have this list in our head of the things that we want to stay very clear of. Some of us are afraid of heights. Some of us are afraid of getting up early. Some of us are afraid of cold water. Some of us are afraid of going to college. Whatever it may be, we have this list that we are staying very clear of. You need to get that list, put it in front of you, and start making that list the only list you go from. During this list is how you start to create the calloused mind. You're never going to be able to callous your mind by going to this magical list in the golden tool shed that makes you feel all comfortable and fuzzy inside. There's no callous there. Like, I did 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours to break the Guinness Book of World Records for most pull-ups. In that time period, I did 67,000 pull-ups in 9 months. 67,000 pull-ups in 9 months. What happens to your hands is they become calloused. Calluses protect your hands. against that hard, nasty, gritty ass bar that you're gonna touch thousands and thousands of times. You have to do that to your mind. Your mind has to touch hardship. It has to be uncomfortable. It has to be put in a situation where it's forced to grow. If you're never forcing your mind to grow, there's no calluses. Calluses will never start to grow. So it starts there.